So far, we have come a long way in learning how to design our sounds in Poizone. Up till now, though, we have been dealing with static sounds. To understand what I mean, if you have listened to the sounds that I've made so far, you'll notice that this sound does not change much as time goes on. Where this is okay in certain situations, it does limit you in a lot of ways. If you have ever listened to any more naturally occurring sounds, you will notice that it doesn't stay static. A kick drum has a certain increasing volume that will disappear nearly as quickly as it does appear, whereas a string section in an orchestra might well have the sound swell in. This sort of sonic animation is possible within synthesizers as well. The first and probably most common of these is the amplification attack, decay, sustain, and release controls that are not only common in subtractive synthesis, but all forms of synthesis and sampling. In the examples I've just gave you, it is the volume of the sound that changes over time. The amplification envelope emulates such examples by giving you the ability to adjust their attack time. The attack time in the example of a kick drum is almost instantaneous. This is also true in natural sounds such as plucked strings, whereas the orchestra is the other way around, in that it will take some time for it to get to its maximum volume. The next control affects how long it will take while the key is still being held down before it settles on its specific volume at which it is held or sustained. The first two controls have dealt with time factors. The third control is that of sustain, and it is this control that determines the volume of the sound, while the key is being held down after it has passed both the attack and decay times. The last control determines the length of time that it takes for the sound to finally fade away after the key is let go. As a group, this is commonly known as an ADSR envelope. Poizone has a second of these, and this can be used to control any of 5 different parameters. The amplification envelope is just specialized in that it only works with volume. The modulation can be mapped to control cutoff and the frequency or pulse width of your A oscillator, or your A and B oscillators. The last control, which is labeled amount, is used to determine the strength of the envelope itself. The center point is equal to 0. So at this setting, the envelope itself has no effect on the sound. Dragging the slider up or down will affect the sound accordingly. If it is set negatively, then the attack time will actually see a reduction in the map value as opposed to an increase. You can also have sound change over time using a low-frequency oscillator, not to be confused with the noise generator oscillators. This is used to vary certain parameters over time in a cyclic manner. The LFO adds a pan control to the possible destination. The oscillators themselves are saw, sine, triangle, pulse, and random. In the next part of the video, we'll begin our look at the final part of the modulation section. We will look at Midi Control, the arpeggiator, and the trans gate.